All right, welcome. We're in Shemot, which is Exodus. This is the beginning of the new series. We're going to start through here. We're going to go through it, and we will have some key points videos that will be highlighted, some key points, and put in as short sections so you can check that out. This is chapter 1. We're going to start in verse 15. All right. Then the sovereign of Mizraim spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. All right. And he said, when you deliver thee, all right, Hebrew women, and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. All right, this is key here. Commandment had been given out. All right. The sovereign of Mizraim. All right. This is that same land. Remember, if you go back to the previous series, when we go back to Bereshit and Genesis, the Mizraim women, some of the parents, the mothers, did not want their sons to marry. Do you remember those women? All right. That's something you have to take a look at. If you just getting here and you haven't been in the beginning, it's best to start at the beginning because you'll have a better idea of what's going on here. But if not, take your time, go through your Bibles and find out about the Mizrahians and the women and which mothers did not want their sons to marry into them. And then also we see here, they want to put to death the sons, the boys that were born from the Hebrew women. All right. And why was that? If you read early on these passages that we didn't go through, when we get to the men's section, we'll go through that. You'll see why they didn't want the sons around, or they wanted to harm the son or have something happen. All right. They were blessed. And then also, but if it's a daughter, then she shall live. Why do they want the daughter to live? Well, we see back in the previous series what happened to the women. Remember the woman who, the daughter who went somewhere she was supposed to go and she was defiled and things like that. So, when you're having women, a lot more women around, the men try to get more aggressive. They try to take over, the lineage. Remember what happened when they went off and killed the city? They took over the women and children, and things of that nature. So there's a lot that's going on here, but we see the sovereign is commanding the Hebrew midwives not to allow the sons, the firstborn sons, to live. If it's a boy, whether it's a firstborn or not, they didn't want the sons to live. So we see here, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it's a daughter, then she shall live. So not the firstborn and the ones after that. They didn't want any boys around. All right. So as we go to verse 17, but the midwives feared Elohim and did not do as the sovereign of Mizraim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. All right. So that's key here. As we see here, they fear God. All right. That's going to be key. It says fear God, obey God rather than man. There's scriptures on that. You can go in and search the scriptures and find that. That'll help you understand what's going on here in the past. And now they didn't have this commandment, but they just naturally fear God. That's where you want to be at. In your situations and things that you're doing, you want to constantly focus on God and make your decisions. All right. So instead of obeying the sovereign of Mizraim, it could have been the Pharaoh, the king, or whoever the sovereign is. They kept the male children alive, whether it's the firstborn or the youngest, all throughout. They kept them alive. All right. So verse 18. So the sovereign of Mizraim called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this and kept the male children alive? All right. And the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Mizraim women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. All right, so this is key here. We can see how a lie can be used for doing something good. All right, there's good lies and there are bad lies, right? But a lie is a lie at the end of the day. All right, so because they didn't do what the Pharaoh said or the sovereign, he called them, he asked them, why have you done this and kept the male children alive? Immediately these midwives of women said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Mizraim women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. So basically she's saying that, they can handle birth on their own. They just be pushing them out. They some strong women. there's nothing they can do about it. Yes, these are very strong people. All right. Other you see groups of people, they wanted to weaken them. They didn't want them to be as strong. They didn't want them to reproduce and things like that. And that's why they wanted to kill them. Now, abortion and things like that, it's not spoke about here, but that's probably what happened and where it stemmed from, because they didn't want the males to live. So if they were able to see if it was a male right away, maybe they try to do something where they can harm the child potentially. So this has been going on a lot longer than you've been thinking. All right, this has been going on all the way back then. So but as we see, they could have just told the truth and said we wanted to obey God rather than listen to you. We fear God, so that's why we chose to do it. But this is the reason they gave. All right, so again, that's the key point. As we continue on, verse 20, so Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very numerous. And it came to be, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he provided households for them. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter. All right, so this is key here. You may see a lot of males with children who have a lot of girls, and they keep wanting them to have more and more kids. They may be getting helped by more males. More males come into your life. They help you with resources and things like that, looking like they want to take care of your family, but really they want your daughter. All right, or daughters. Okay, that's key. We see here Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter. Now, this is not to say that other races or group of people do not like the males that you're birthing or that's around. What is being said is that for women, they have more use to those people in power, all right, like pharaohs, those in government, things like that. They have more of a use for them, all right. But we see here is there's going to be a big difference between males and females, all right. So if you have a child and you're not of the same group of people, they're going to be treated differently, all right. The male is probably not going to be as liked as much, as they receive as much privileges, especially when you go out and travel, you go to places. The female is more than likely going to get treated better than the male. All right. We've seen, if you go to the previous series, a lot of times when they go, you have a good looking woman, they get treated better. They get spotted out more. The good looking male we see with Joseph's case, the wife, Potiphar's wife, where we talked about her in the previous series. What did she want from him? All right, she wanted him to lie with him. All right. It wasn't about anything else. That's what was talked about. Now, he could have gained more things from sleeping with her, like, money from her and things like that, but it's really coming from her husband, who was the Pharaoh at the time, right? The sovereign. So this is going to be very key here. And then also, and it came to be the most important part, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he provided households for them. So this is going to be a key for all women. All right. No matter if you're single, if you have children, or if you're married, or if your husband, slept with someone, adultery, and you're going through a divorce or things like that, or having struggles with your marriage, choose to fear God. Fear God. Don't do it the way I'm doing it. Do it the way that you know best. Take your time with it. Don't rush with it. Don't expect everything to click right away. Be patient. Take it day by day, little by little. All right. He may change your life right away. I'm not saying that he won't, but what's coming through life, when you look at Job, all the videos that I have placed out, if you've been watching them, you got to expect that you have to do something in life. You have to have some self-control. All right. You got to wake up and think God first. All right. You got to pray.